Hi, I'm Kelly Lewis, and today's video is Introduction to Ayurveda. I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner and therapist, and I've been studying this ancient wisdom for about 26 years now. And so today's video is going to be for those who have been interested in learning what Ayurveda is. So we're just going to scratch the surface today and introduce you to some of the basic concepts of Ayurveda. So the word Ayurveda is Sanskrit and it's translated as science of life or wisdom of life. And Ayurveda comes from these books that were written thousands of years ago. They're called Vedic texts. And within these Vedic texts are the wisdom of how this physical world works. And Ayurveda focuses more on how we work, human beings, our mind body, and how our mind affects digestion, how our digestion affects our mind, how the foods we eat affect us, how the seasons and the moon cycles affect us. And one of the foundational concepts of Ayurveda is the five elemental theory. So in Ayurveda, we see the five elements being space, air, fire, water, and earth. And when we talk about the elements, we're talking about their qualities. And so let's start with space. So when we talk about space in Ayurveda, we're talking about the qualities of limitlessness. If you think of space, there's no ceiling, there's no floor, there's no walls. So it's literally limitless, it's expansive. We need space in order to create, to bring something in. Space is considered dry in nature. It's lightweight. We can see through it, move through it, and it's cool in nature. So those are the basic qualities that we assign to space in Ayurveda. So expansive limitlessness, lightweight, dry, cool, clear. So the next element, air, is similar in space and qualities. It too is lightweight, it's dry, it's cool. We can move through it, it's clear. The difference is air actually moves. We can feel it against our skin. So it creates movement and flow, and that in turn creates change. So those are the qualities that we assign to air: dry, light, clear, movement and change. So we take those two elements, space and air, and we put them in what we call a dosha. There's three doshas in Ayurveda that house the five elements. So our first dosha is Vata or Vata, depending on what country you're in. And it's spelled V-A-T-A. So Vata consists of space and air qualities. And so again, those same qualities that we just discussed: lightweight, expansive, dry, cool, movement and flow and change, and clear. Our next element is fire. And so we think of fire as being hot. It gives us light so we can see. And fire is very transformative. Everything that it touches, it transforms, it metabolizes, it breaks down. So those are the basic qualities of fire. It too is lightweight in nature. Our next element is water. So water is the first element that actually has some weight to it. We can feel it. It's denser, it's heavy. It's also wet. So the other elements are dry in nature. We have now a wet element. It's considered cool in Ayurveda. It's soft against our skin and it's cohesive. So anything we put with water, it makes it sticky and cling together. So those are the basic qualities of water: heavy, cool, damp, soft, cohesive. And our last element is earth. So earth is the most dense of all the five elements. it's considered heavy. It's got some weight to it. And it's the most stable of all of the 5 elements. So we think of earth as being very stable and dependable. So it's heavy, it's considered cool and damp in nature. So we take fire and some water, and that becomes our second dosha called Pitta, P-I-T-T-A. So Pitta, we focus more on the fiery qualities of Pitta, but there is some moisture with it as well. So again, it's going to be that hot, light, bright, the light from the fire, lightweight, transformative, metabolizing. So those are the qualities of fire. And then we use the moisture from water. It may be a little bit of heaviness, and that creates our Pitta dosha. So our last dosha is Kapha, and it's pronounced Kapha. It's spelled K-A-P-H-A. So Kapha is going to have the qualities of water and earth. And so both water and earth, they're both heavy. They're both considered cool and damp in nature. They're more stable in nature. And so we give those qualities to Kapha. So we as human beings have all 5 elements within us, but each one of us have a different amount of the 5 elements. And that is what gives way to our uniqueness. It creates our personality, our physical body, the way we see the world, the way we respond to stress, the way we digest our food. And so understanding your dominant elements and where they're expressing, because you can have, because you have all 5 elements, you might have Vata and Pitta in about the same amount, but maybe Vata is more dominant in your mind, and maybe it's more dominant in your digestion. That's where an Ayurvedic consult helps to help you better understand your unique constitution. So if you want to take a dosha quiz and find out what your dominant dosha or elements are, you can visit my website, Samata Wellness, S-A-M-A-T-A, wellness.com, and look for the dosha questionnaire page. Now, you'll need to do this on a desktop or laptop. It seems to get a little jumbled with the cell phones, and I haven't been able to figure out how to straighten that out yet. So if you have a laptop or desktop, and you can print it off, it'll look like this. And so you'll see in this first column, my bone structure is, and then you'll have 3 choices across that same line. So look at the 3 options and figure out which one best describes you, and circle the one that best describes you. Now, as I said, we have all of the 5 elements and all 3 doshas within us. So sometimes we have all of the elements closer in balance, and sometimes we have several of them equally in balance. So there might be, as you go down this list, a couple rows where 2 answers are going to be equally true. So feel free to circle both. And then you'll just total up your circles at the bottom. What I would like to do is just briefly go over the Vata dosha, because that is usually the first of the doshas to become imbalanced in all of us. And that is because Vata is connected to our mind. Because our mind is always moving, there's that constant flow. And you think of mind and thoughts, it's lightweight, it's dry, it's limitless, and it's always moving. So our Vata dosha can, as we elevate the Vata dosha, it can speed the flow of our thoughts, creating a feeling of anxiety, ungroundedness. And so we like to focus on Vata. That is normally the first dosha to become imbalanced. So if you start to notice that you are having a hard time focusing, you're feeling spacey, anxious, then that is your first indication that it's time to rebalance. And the best way to rebalance Vata is through the mind, where it usually starts to become imbalanced. So the best way to balance Vata one of the easiest ways is through our breath. So just taking some deep breaths, and it can be equal inhale to our exhale, is going to automatically slow down the flow of our thoughts. You can also do another breath. It's like a bumblebee humming breath. So you would breathe in, and as you exhale, and the vibration of that humming is very calming to our nervous system. So these are two types of breath, simple breath. There's quite a few, but those are two that you can start with. And we also want to breathe into the belly. That's going to help calm us down. If we're very vata aggravated in our mind and that's not enough, then you might need to go for a nice slow walk out in nature, away from the sounds of your electronics. Another way to pacify vata is going to be sitting in a nice hot bath with, maybe turn the lights out so that it's nice and dark and quiet, warm and wet. Those are those opposite qualities to vata. So it's always good to start with the breath to see if that's going to be enough to just calm you down. We can, again, always add in that walk, can add in that nice hot bath. And for more information, feel free to reach out to me. You can get my contact information through my website, samatawellness.com. And if you'd like to learn more about Ayurveda, I offer Discover Ayurveda retreats in Desert Hot Springs, California, where you get to come and learn and experience Ayurveda and all of its magic. So thank you for joining. Bye-bye.